Hi everybody, this is meteorologist Amy Metz. We have a major hurricane in the Gulf heading for the Louisiana coast. This is a Category 3 right now. According to most data, I'm going to get into the Hurricane Hunters data in just a moment here, and then talk about some upper air changes that'll be going on directing this, and then exactly pinpointing the landfall here, which is projected near Lake Charles, and I've been assuming would be anywhere from there to just a little bit of the east. So here is the data from the Hurricane Hunters per tropical tidbits, and this is the last complete mission. So they're out in the air now, and this is mission 18 here with some data that's not complete. So I can zoom in here and get some of the more accurate data as opposed to that model I was using earlier, which is going to be averaging speeds over different areas from satellites. So if I zoom in really close, of course there's raw data too, but we can see wind barbs here and then color codings going to the inside that are definitely reaching this color here, the pink, which is up to 113 and major hurricane over Category 3. So things are moving along how I had been forecasting, which also means that this should be dying down a bit before it makes landfall. There's still a bit of shear ahead of it. And of course, as I was talking about before, always going to be some decreasing shear. This is the shear tendency over 24 hours. So these dotted lines indicate -5 knots of shear, -10 knots of shear, very close to miles per hour here. Just means the winds are changing from the sea here, the sea floor, or let's say the surface of the sea, all the way up to the top of the clouds. If those wind directions are changing, it can't blow in a circle as well. It will disorganize and disrupt it. And along with that are these sea surface temperatures, which are also a little bit colder along the coast. So the other day, our high res here showed some of the greens right along the coast too. I'll see if I can zoom in a little more. So like I was talking about yesterday, some of those blues and greens, they've started to mix in with the warmer water that moved in with Delta, but now we're even seeing down here by the Yucatan Peninsula. So that's how the water's all going to want to mix together. It's sloshed up against here and kind of revert back. And now the temperatures will blend, but as a whole, that's great news because it will be less fuel for the storm. That wind shear will also disrupt the flow pattern. So from here on out, I think we're getting close to seeing downgrades. I'll be able to show you some more information from this loop. I think it's just beautiful from the GOES satellite. And with this loop, oh, excuse me for that. So I usually have these set up before. This loop here is satellite. So we can see it's dark on this part of the world right now. And the other day, some of these upper levels were moving already to the northeast. So things are getting caught up into the jet stream now, like I was talking about the other day, but we're going to be starting to watch out for those tornadoes. The tornado threat will be rising. So we also have another batch I wanted to show on here, starting to see a bit of a circulation here. So this could be the next batch of storms near Hispaniola that will be causing issues. And this is where we'll be seeing the problems from here on out, originating in that part of the world, as opposed to Africa where the temperatures are finally decreasing. So I'll go ahead before I leave winds, go into some of the upper levels and talk about which way the storm's going to be moving. Higher up in the atmosphere, there's still a tight circulation. Right now I'm at 850 millibars, where a lot of the moisture is, a lot of the rain. Going up a little higher, around 1,500 feet or 700 millibars. Still quite a bit of tightness, but we're starting to see some of that wind shear that we saw on that shear tendency map, and it should be increasing with height here. So I'll zoom out so you can catch a good glimpse here of how things at the upper levels are beginning to join together with the jets. We have subtropical jets, tropical jets, polar jets. It's just this upper airflow. And where the white is the strongest. And that's where things will really get picked up and swept away. And all this funkiness in between, especially places that are rising upward in latitude with eastward progression, that's where we'll see the highest chance for severe weather. So any of those tornado risks will really reside in some of these areas for the outer bands. If we're actually getting, the moisture and the gust front, then that's possible. And of course, the more enhanced place for the tornadoes would be right around the eye wall within the strong portion of the storm once it makes landfall. So that's going to be anywhere from like Lake Charles area to New Orleans, and then with these bands of storms, as things begin to change tomorrow morning and people wake up along the Gulf Coast, as far as Georgia and Florida, we could be seeing some of these strong storms producing tornadoes. That's what I'll be waiting for and watching tomorrow with a live stream on my YouTube. I'll be sharing other places just to help keep people up to date on what's going on and where exactly you may or may not want to be. I'm going to be doing some videos on how to read the radar so that you can be ready tomorrow if you do need to drive somewhere. Maybe you're in Georgia or South Carolina. I'll be on here just to kind of look closer at which highways are affected, because right now these rainstorms, they're not so severe. Some of these now in this region are where you're seeing the lightning strikes, you're seeing the red. They are. So these are moving past, but not with as many tornadoes as you'll see tomorrow. More the torrential downpours and the lightning is the biggest threat through tonight, as parts of the storm already begin drifting off across Tennessee, starting here from Louisiana. That will be overnight as these storms drift to the northeast. And then tomorrow is where we're really going to be seeing things enhance. So I'll go ahead and see if there's any questions or comments, and just leave it at this probably for now, unless there's anybody here wanting to know something. Wanted to make sure I got an update in here and made sure that this was in fact decreasing like my previous forecast had indicated. So these lines backward, that kind of tells me that the storm is being affected by land. The wind is blowing into it and bouncing back off buildings, off of structures and hills. And in that case, we see these waves and ripples backward. That sort of thing starts to disorganize the pattern of circulation. And you can see that evidence here already. So that's going to continue to downgrade this storm little by little before landfall. Oh, hey, Rebecca. So yeah, I was thinking of you when I was talking about watching out for those severe storms, even if you're on the road tomorrow in the northeast. The way that the upper level patterns are, there could be some random strong gust fronts that pass through, even 100 to 200 miles away from this storm as it's making its way onto landfall. And then probably for the next 12 hours to 24 hours after the landfall, we'll still see very strong gust fronts with all of the thunderstorms passing by everywhere else along the east coast. So I hope everybody enjoys the weather and is safe. I know a lot of people were having trouble getting gas in this area as they were evacuating, but it's been days and days now since steps have been taken to make sure these locations were ready. And I've talked to a few people out of New Orleans, more out of Florida, and we'll just have to see what goes as the days come on here. So I do have somebody that's going to be sending me some information about surge from this area that we're looking at right now on the left side here. And so anywhere from Morgan City all the way here to Lake Charles. This is where I believe a landfall will take place. And I'll go back to the visible before I take off here just to show really clearly that this eye is gone. I didn't talk about that yet, but this is good news that With all of these reverbs and ripples back, the disorganization has now taken away the eye wall, and I don't believe it will be coming back at this point. If so, very briefly.